Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Well, I've got a few videos attached here, but they're very, very important to put on the record because it's a tale of two different strategies when it comes to helping or not helping the world. And that much maligned drug ivermectin, which just so happened to win the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2015, and I have the video evidence right here, which I'll play to you now, was one of those drugs which has saved millions of people across the world. All right, now for the YouTubers with their fat fingers, just watch what happened at the Nobel Prize award ceremony. Here we go. Let's start. These are just little clips to start with.
The discoveries of the 2015 year's Nobel laureates, William Campbell, Satoshi Omura, and Yu Tu, represent a paradigm shift in medicine, which has not only provided revolutionary therapies for patients suffering from devastating parasitic
There are
diseases.
now about 200 million people on a yearly basis getting ivermectin for prohibiting and trying to eradicate river blindness and elephantiasis.
Now that we've piqued the interest of YouTube fact checkers who are probably scurrying around watching this video, trying to find something wrong with it, let me make it clear. The actual focus of this video is the strategy of the use of patents. Patents. Now, with ivermectin, the developers of that particular drug, which is, as you've just heard, helped millions of people around the world every year when it comes to parasites, they never put any patents on their discovery, which meant that their drug was very, very, very cheap. And in fact, in India, in places like Upper Pradesh, that is the drug of choice by that particular provincial authority. Now, what I will do is I will play you two clips. The first one is from that Nobel Medicine Prize meeting where a journalist asks the guy who's presenting the awards whether patents had been taken out on ivermectin and this other drug which also won the award that year. And you'll hear for yourself his response. And you'll see how he clearly says that without a patent, the costs are reduced dramatically. And then we will hear after that the other side of the coin when it comes to Bill Gates's little beauty to treat COVID-19 and his view on patents. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to get on the wrong side of the YouTube moderators. Okay, guys, this is not medical misinformation. This is fact. Ivermectin has no patents. Moderna has patents. And they are sticking to those patents, which means that there are costs. Here come those two videos.
What's the patent situation for those drugs?
You can comment on that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So currently there are not, to our knowledge, any patents that are up and running. So they are not under any patent protection as of yet. There are a number of companies that are producing these, and they are distributed, both these companies are distributed throughout the world for those in need without costs. It's a very unusual situation that major industrial production partners have facilitated the use by letting these out free of costs to those that need.
What companies?
So, to our knowledge, Merck is a company that is the producer of ivermectin. and Sanofi Novartis of artemisinin. But there may well be more than which we are not well aware of.
So nobody has any patent?
Not to our knowledge right now.
And are there pending patents, as you know?
Not that we are aware of.
I mean, they're on the list of essential medicines, and so they're really available to government and people at need, and they're at prices that are reasonable. So they're really essential medicines.
Further questions?
What about the United States? Well, after refusing to sell vaccine raw materials, it is now trying to undo the damage. US President Joe Biden spoke to Prime Minister Narendra Modi last night. He promised to send emergency assistance. This includes oxygen supplies, vaccine materials, and medicines. On Monday, an Air India flight picked up oxygen concentrators from New York. And this is a welcome shift. Remember, America was reluctant to help. It changed after it was slammed the world over, not only for refusing to help India, but also for hoarding vaccines. So here's another shift. America now wants to send up to 60 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine to different parts of the world. When will that happen? After American regulators check the safety of the shots. It could take weeks, it could take months. There are no clear timelines. The world is not America's priority. So why is it sharing vaccines at all? Because it's got too many of them. More than 550 million excess doses. I'm going to repeat that so that you can note it. The United States has 550 million extra vaccines. That's what you call hoarding. Let me show you a chart. It shows how many doses some countries have produced and how many they have exported. These figures are till the end of March. Countries like China and India exported more than 40% of their supplies. Even the European Union shared 42% of its supplies. What about the United States? It exported 0 shots. What about the United Kingdom? Again, 0. They exported nothing. Countries like the US and the UK represent the global elite, the rich who booked millions of doses well in advance. Now they have extra vaccines, enough to inoculate their population 3 times over, in some cases 5 times. But they haven't shared anything with the world. And they're making sure this system does not change. They will not share vaccines. They will not share vaccine recipes. Life-saving drugs have been locked in patents. It's a subject that I bring up every day because it is the most important battle right now. The world needs to end this pandemic, and for that we need vaccines. And the rich have locked up these vaccines. Reports say during yesterday's phone call, Prime Minister Modi pressed President Biden about this. India has been pushing for a waiver on vaccine patents at the World Trade Organization, the WTO. The US and the UK have aggressively blocked this proposal. And backing them are countries like Japan, also the European Union. After the phone call, a senior official of the Biden administration was asked if America will relent. Will the United States back a patent waiver? Team Biden said it has nothing to share on this front. And it's not just governments, by the way, who are putting patents over lives. Even individuals who make up the global elite are championing the cause of big pharma. The likes of Bill Gates, the billionaire philanthropist, believes vaccine formula should not be shared with the developing world. He gave the statement on Sunday. Bill Gates was asked if it would be helpful for intellectual property protections to be lifted. How did he respond? With an emphatic no. Why? Because he fears that lifting patent rights, even temporarily, could compromise the safety of vaccines. Bill Gates believes in keeping the circle tight. He says the ideas like moving production from a Johnson & Johnson factory to a facility in India are novel. And they only happen, and I'm quoting here, they only happen because of our grants and expertise. Bill Gates is towing the line of big pharma. According to a report, every vaccine maker has its own secret recipes and supply chains, and they insist that no other approach is possible. Nothing else will work. And this is exactly why the world is lagging behind in the global vaccination drive. It's because the supplies have been limited by design. It's not like we cannot produce more. Only a few companies are being allowed to make vaccines right now. Consider these numbers. More than 1 billion shots have been administered so far. 1 billion. 87% of these have gone to rich countries. 1 in 4 people in wealthy countries have got a jab. What about the poor countries? Just 1 in 500 have got a shot in these nations. Do you see the gap? 1 in 4 versus 1 in 500. According to a report, only 0.2% of the doses made so far have been dispensed to low-income countries. And this is not just a question of inequity, which is bad enough. This strategy will come back to bite the rich because at this rate, the pandemic will take years to end. And if it doesn't end in the poor countries, it will not end in the rich ones either. We have enough proof of how this virus mutates and jumps borders. So this is what we have as of April 2021. Around 18.5 million doses being administered daily around the world. At this pace, it would take at least 19 more months, 19 more months, to inoculate 75% of the world population, which means extending this pandemic for at least 2 more years. What we're saying is very, very simple. Vaccine patents are a dangerous idea right now. The biggest roadblock on our path to recovery. If the world wants to end this pandemic, it must end vaccine patents first.
Okay, now I'm going to play the video from that Nobel Award ceremony. And you can see there's a lot of media there. This is back in 2015 when ivermectin was one of the 2 drugs that won the award, the Nobel Prize for medicine in the world. Quite an achievement when you consider how it's now been ostracized by the World Health Organization, the Food and Drug Administration, and other top health authorities. I'll let you join the dots. Please remember to subscribe to Loving Life on YouTube to be kept informed. Please remember to register on lovinglifetv.com, the platform we are transitioning to, where we can speak freely about things we can't speak about on YouTube. And please remember to like this video, please remember to share this video, and above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.
With that introduction, I will present our expert panel that will be available to answer questions in a little while. And we have Professor Jan Andersson, Professor Julien Sierat, Professor Hans Forsberg, all members of the Nobel Assembly, and Julien Sierat is also the chair of the Nobel Committee. And we will now provide a short description of the laureates, their work, their discoveries, and this presentation will be given to you by Professor Hans Forsberg. Please, Hans.
Thank you. So, parasitic diseases have plagued humankind throughout our existence. And still today, they affect hundreds of millions of the most vulnerable citizens of the world. The discoveries by William Campbell and Satoshi Omura have provided us with revolutionary therapies against elephantiasis and river blindness. And the discovery by UU2 resulted in an exceptionally effective treatment against malaria. Elephantiasis is a stigmatizing and disabling disease of the lymphatic system that causes lifelong swelling of legs and other body parts. River blindness is due to infection and inflammation of the eye, damaging the cornea. Both diseases are caused by roundworm parasites that are transmitted by mosquitoes and flies to humans. In the human body, filaria, a form of the parasite, migrate to the lymphatic system, causing elephantiasis, or to the eyes, giving rise to river blindness. The life cycle of the parasite is maintained by new insects biting the human host and transmitting parasites to new persons. Satoshi Omura in Japan, a specialist in large-scale culturing and characterization of natural products, had a vision to find agents from nature that could be used to develop antibiotic drugs. He was particularly interested in the bacteria Streptomyces, which is very difficult to grow. He collected thousands of samples from soil, and against all odds, he succeeded in culturing several new species of Streptomyces. From these, he selected 50 of the most promising cultures to be evaluated for their antimicrobial activity. Amazingly, in one of these samples, collected next to a golf course, there was a new, not previously detected strain of Streptomyces that would change the history of medicine. Umura, as part of a collaboration, shipped the 50 cultures to Campbell's laboratory. There, extracts of the cultures were added to the food of mice infected with parasites. One of the extracts turned out to have a remarkable effect, killing all the roundworm parasites of the mouse. William Campbell, an expert in parasite biology working in USA, realized that they struck gold. He managed to purify the bioactive substance and named it ivermectin. Subsequently, the substance was modified to a more effective compound called ivermectin. The new drug turned out to be extremely effective against a range of parasites in farm and domestic animals, and it is today still massively used in veterinary medicine. Now, based on his success, Campbell wondered whether the spectacular effects seen in animals might be achievable also in humans infected with parasites. Clinical trials were initiated on patients with river blindness, and these could demonstrate that a single dose of the drug was sufficient to kill all roundworm parasites. The journey to develop a new drug against parasites that globally infect hundreds of million people had started. The discoveries of ivermectin and artemisinin have fundamentally changed the treatment of parasitic diseases that affect hundreds of millions of the most vulnerable people living on our planet. Artemisinin saves lives of severely ill malaria-infected patients and has markedly reduced the death toll during the last decades. Ivermectin prevents the stigmatizing and disabling symptoms of river blindness and lymphatic filariasis by stopping parasites from infecting eyes and the lymphatic system. In combination with measures that interrupt transmission via insects, artemisinin and ivermectin have contributed dramatically to reduce the number of individuals that are infected every year. Treatment with ivermectin has even become so successful that river blindness and elephantiasis are on the verge of eradication. But the impact of ivermectin and artemisinin goes far beyond reducing the disease burden of individuals. By allowing children to go to school and adults to go to work, the treatment helps them to escape poverty, which also contributes to economic growth of the community. The discoveries of the 2015 year's Nobel laureates, William Campbell, Satoshi Omura, and Yu Tu, represent a paradigm shift in medicine, which has not only provided revolutionary therapies for patients suffering from devastating parasitic diseases, but has also promoted well-being and prosperity for both individuals and society. The global impact of their discovery and the resulting benefit to mankind is immeasurable. Thank you. To emphasize that these are two different prizes that are given together. So one half is going to UU2, and the other half is going to William Campbell and Satoshi Omura. So there are two different parts of this prize.
One for worms and one for protozoa plasmodium. It's completely two different sets of pathogens belonging to parasitic disorders.
Yes.
So there are two different medications that have been developed from this year's research. What's the patent situation for those drugs?
You can comment on that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So currently there are not, to our knowledge, any patents that are up and running. So they are not under any patent protection as of yet. There are a number of companies that are producing these, and they are distributed, both these compounds are distributed throughout the world for those in need without costs. It's a very unusual situation that major industrial production partners have facilitated the use by letting these out free of costs to those that need.
What companies?
So, to our knowledge, Merck is a company that is the producer of ivermectin, and Sanofi Novartis of artemisinin. But there may well be more than which we are not well aware of.
So nobody has any patent?
Not to our knowledge right now.
And are there pending patents, as you know?
Not that we are aware of.
I mean, they're on the list of essential medicines, and so they're really available to government and people at need, and they're at prices that are reasonable. So they're really essential medicines.
Further questions?
There are now about 200 million people on a yearly basis getting ivermectin for prohibiting and trying to eradicate river blindness and elephantiasis. There is a vast program going on in WHO for reducing the numbers of infected countries with malaria as well. And a significant contribution has been done in halving the mortality in 13 years' time in malaria. It's a historically unique happening thanks to these two compounds developed by and discovered by these three scientists.